Welcome to the Limitless Podcast. The Limitless Podcast is centered around exactly that, being limitless. Hunting, fishing, fitness, nutrition, adventure, disabilities. What may be covered during the Limitless Podcast will be, well, limitless. Stay tuned for this episode of the Limitless Podcast. All right, Limitless listeners. I said last episode that I was going to try to come up with something new rather than saying, hey, Limitless listeners, but I have failed to accomplish in that mission. So right now we're just starting the show again of, hey, Limitless listeners, we're here for another episode. And as normal, I'm going to jump through our sponsors, and then we're going to get into the guest today. So going from the top, Hunting Day Coffee, 10% off any order for Hunting Day. That's Be Limitless 10. I have Phelps Game Calls. It's 20% off one order. That's not one item. That's one order. Be Limitless 20. That's a one-time use. Have On Point Adventure Foods for your backcountry freeze-dried pleasure, and or maybe just snacks for in the car or a Friday night. Their strawberry shortcake is redonkulous. They are 10% off any order. Be Limitless 10. We have Vortex Optics. This purchase is through eurooptics.com. That is a 25% off discount of any Vortex products there. That code is VTXLMTLS25. I have Wilderness Athlete, 20% off any order of Wilderness Athletes products. That's Be Limitless 20. I have a good friend of mine owns a boutique hot sauce out of Maryland, and that is 10% off any order of $12 or more. That's Be Limitless 10. I also have Venandi Holsters out of the Salt Lake City area. They make the modular firearm retainment that sits behind your bino harness, in between your chest and your bino harness. Absolutely amazing. That's 10% off any holster order through Venandi. That's Be Limitless 10. And then last but not least, one of my favorite small pieces that goes with my bino harness, that's the STICKIT Magnetic Gear rangefinder strap. I love that thing. They're doing 10% off any STICKIT Magnetic Gear rangefinder strap. Be Limitless 10. That strap, I use a Vortex Razor rangefinder, and the strap works perfect with that. It fits my little pocket, and then it has a magnetic clip on it, so you can put the magnetic piece anywhere you want. I actually have it on my bino harness, so I pull it out of the little pocket, and now I have that rangefinder accessible when I'm ranging an animal. I don't have to worry about where I'm going to put my rangefinder when I'm done. It's a magnetic piece. I can just stick it to my body and then come to draw or bring my weapon up. So again, that's STICKIT Magnetic Gear, their rangefinder strap, 10% off. Be Limitless 10. Again, as of now, and for the unbeknownst future, and as I have always been, I am an unfunded podcast. I'm not asking for income. I'm not asking for donations. What I'm telling you guys, all of these sponsors, I've reached out to them because I trust, use, and believe in all of those products. They are offering those sponsor codes purely for your benefit. At this time, there's no kickback to me or the Limitless Podcast. I am a privately funded show. Everything that I produce and send to you guys is not influenced by a paycheck whatsoever. So with that said, I have a great guest. This is the first time I've had anybody in this field on the show. Like to introduce Mike from the Breaking Point TV team. How are you doing today, sir?
Good. How are you doing, Aaron?
I'm good. It's turkey season, and due to life requirements, I am at home rather than hunting. So I have that struggle going on. But other than that, I'm really good, and I'm really happy to be here on the show with you today.
Yeah, I'm wanting to get out hunting here this afternoon too, but like I mentioned before the podcast, we've been dealing with a lot of rain here in Iowa. So that's kind of limited us on getting out and hunting some of the farms I've been wanting to go to, but we're gonna stick after it. Hopefully we can get some birds down here soon.
Well, you've already tagged a bird recently, haven't you?
No, I haven't. I've been along with on birds getting shot, and I've called a bunch in that have gotten missed. But yeah, my season started off. I had a youth hunter, a good friend of ours, offered to take him out here in Iowa for the youth season. Called a bird in the first morning to like 9 yards, and unfortunately missed it. But it was fun getting him out. And then Ross, who works for us, Ross Weeks, we hunted a couple days first season with him, and we were dealing with a lot of high winds, just nasty, nasty winds, making it very tough to call birds in. But it was on our third day. We were lucky enough to finally get a calm afternoon, and we made it happen. Just cutting a bird off, going to the roost. That's the only one I've seen killed so far. I made. I'm hoping a decision I don't regret. But I tried to shoot a bird with the recurve this year.
Oh my.
So I've been taking that out, and how Iowa works is you can get an archery specific tag.
Hmm.
So, and it allows you to hunt all the season. So I bought both my tags for that. So I'm like fully committed with having to use archery equipment to punch those tags. So it's been a little bit frustrating, actually very frustrating. um, we've had some close encounters. Just need the birds to come right into the decoys, and they haven't cooperated yet. So hopefully tonight's the night.
So back in the early 2000s, I tried to pursue Merriam's in the Blue Mountains. No, they're Rios. They're Rios in the Blue Mountains. I think it's either Merriam's or Rios out in the Blue Mountains of Washington State. And I tried to, and I for 2 years in a row, I went after them with a Bear Kodiak recurve solo. I was not in the blind. I was just out hiding behind trees, and
Mm-hmm.
it's tough. I called birds in and blew birds out.
Yeah. Yeah. The first morning of the hunt, we had really great weather the first morning of season that I hunted, and had a spot set up. We had a ground blind situated where I knew these birds were coming out in this field, and it just laid out perfect for recurve as long as one of them committed to the decoys. We had a bird come out, and he was just very hesitant to want to come into the spread. But I mean, after like an hour, he finally come. And he kind of circled around us and came along the edge of the field right up to the blind. Was coming into the decoys. Needed him to take about another 3 steps, and I'd have had him at, I would say, inside 15 yards, clear shot window out the front. And he decided to just turn around and start to walk away. So I actually tried shooting him. I was in a baronet blind, so you have like the slide windows. I tried shooting him out of the side window, but unfortunately, those blinds taper down on the ends, and I didn't really think of it. When I went to shot, that my top limb hit the top of the blind, and arrow went sailing, not even close to him. But yeah, then we had a couple other encounters that morning. Same deal, like we were out. We didn't have a blind in these setups, but we called birds in one setup, 4 different toms in like 45 minutes. All of them come inside 10 yards. We were hunting on a fence line, needed them to cross the fence line. The first two came across, and they kind of got onto us right away and didn't commit to the decoys. And then the last two wouldn't come across the fence, but we've been close. Just need everything to go right, and hopefully it'll all come together here soon.
Yeah, when you go after them with traditional archery equipment, you 100% have to have everything go right.
Yeah,
With
absolutely.
with the advent of TSS and turkey chokes, everything doesn't have to go right.
Hmm.
But traditional equipment 100% changes the game.
Yeah, and I guess that's the main reason I've been wanting to do it, is just to have that little bit more of a challenge. I started getting a little bit more serious about shooting my recurve last summer, and used it on a whitetail hunt in North Dakota. Ended up shooting a nice buck with it then. on like the second day of our hunt, and same deal. It just absolutely came in perfect, gave me a great shot. So then I got hooked on it, and I've done a lot of turkey hunting over like probably, let's see, I've been turkey hunting since '97 with my dad. So for a long time. And I've, been lucky enough to shoot plenty of birds and been a part of a lot of birds getting shot. And I wanted a new challenge when it came to turkey hunting, and the recurve was it, but it's been very humbling.
Yeah. What kind of recurve do you shoot?
I'm shooting a Hoyt Satori.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't think of what the limbs are. It's the shortest limbs they have for that setup.
Okay. I have a great northern longbow that I've had it for 2 years now, and I've 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 transitioned in and out of traditional archery my entire life.
Hmm.
And I left traditional archery in 2015, 2014. I left traditional archery and started shooting compound again. And a couple of years ago, I thought that I would start shooting traditional again. And I bought that Great Northern bow. It's beautiful. Have yet to even shoot it.
Yeah. Is that a one piece or is it a takedown?
It's a one piece, and I'm not committed to that bow. I do like Great Northern bows. They're beautiful bows. They shoot really well. I want to take down, just because I backcountry hunt so much that
Hmm.
at some point in the future I'm going to go backcountry with my longbow, and I want to be able to. I want a two piece so that I can strap it onto my pack and move through the timber with it on my back.
Yeah. 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 I love that takedown bow. It's so easy for traveling. Like you can actually beat that bow up pretty good, and it shoots great. Um, I'm pulling back 55 pounds on it right now. So like I feel like 20 yards is about my confident range. Preferably like 15 or less is more ideal. But yeah,
It makes everything about it different, you know.
yeah. There's a lot less room for error. One of the biggest things I learned with when I started shooting it is just consistency, whether you're shooting a compound or any weapon is important. But with a recurve, it's just a whole different ball game. Being consistent in your draw, um, and making sure you're anchoring in that same spot, because if you're not getting the same draw weight, and then that's obviously affecting your trajectory and stuff. But yeah, it's been very fun getting that out and just messing with it, and um, yeah, it's very addicting to me.
And instinctive shooting, it's a whole different world.
Yeah, yeah. That's the that was the biggest thing, coming from shooting a compound is just I tried. I know some guys that when they shoot a recurve, they'll try and use their tip of their arrow as like um, a point of reference to shoot. I tried it. I just couldn't group very well. So then I just went to 100% instinctive, just off of feel. And that's been working out well for me so far.
Excellent. It's a great world to dive into for sure.
Yeah.
Are you using store-bought arrows or are you making your own arrows for it?
I got some Easton trad arrows,
Yeah.
and then I just cut them down to my length and that. But yeah.
What are you using for a broadhead?
Right now I have it's a Steel Force single bevel. I think it's 125 grain, I believe. So I'm not shooting a super heavy tip. Like I know you can get into like your 150s and 175s, but I tried shooting a 150 grain field point and a 175 just to mess around with different weights. And boy, from 15 to 20 yards, your arrow really, really drops. So I'm trying to shoot it as flat as possible. I was really worried about like getting a hard hitting or it hitting hard enough though when I was trying to use it for whitetails. And my buck I shot in North Dakota with that setup, 125 grain head, it blew right through him at 13 yards. So you can't ask for, with a recurve, you can't really ask for much more performance. So,
It's interesting. You can and I'm not a believer that it has truly anything to do with a broadhead in these two scenarios, but I think it's interesting that you can talk to a guy that blows through a big game animal with his recurve.
mhm.
And you watch on TV some of these guys shooting their compound setups, and they're barely getting a third penetration of their arrow.
Yeah,
It's just it's
yeah.
nuts to me, you know.
Hmm.
I love the rabbit holes that traditional archery can dig for you to fall into. I mean, you can say the same thing about compound archery, but I fell down the rabbit hole of I made my own Flemish jig. I was twisting my own strings. I have a I made an arm guard. I still have it. I'd made a back quiver out of it was a full leather back quiver that had buffalo hide inside the liner. Had a spacer in it, and I made all of my arrows from scratch, just ash shafts, and then I stained them, painted them, crested them, varnished them, fletched them, the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I went down the rabbit hole on it. It's a ton of fun,
Hmm.
um, and learned the difference between wood stain and started using leather stain because you can get all the different colors of leather stain to stain the wood with. It was a blast, a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. I know even like one thing I was blown away with when I got my recurve and just learning how to set it up. Um, I started watching YouTube videos on tuning it and everything. I was just blown away that like how complex. I thought it was just as simple as stringing a recurve and you're ready to go. Like the tuning aspects of it is was just incredible to me. Like how you have to set it up just right. I did
Yeah.
not think there was that much to a recurve until I started diving more into it.
Are you shooting a split finger or Apache?
I'm shooting um I don't know what Apache is. I'm shooting three fingers below.
Okay. Yep.
So
That-
I used to shoot split finger and I went to three fingers underneath. And the main reason I did because when I started messing around with it, I was thinking about like doing, you ever heard of string walking?
Mhm.
Um, I was thinking about messing around with that more, and I still might. Um, I did a little bit this year, but kind of for the distances I was shooting, I don't feel like it was quite necessary yet. But if I want to start playing around with shooting further distances, I might want to get more into that. But it just a lot of the videos I watched with it, um, it just I felt like it made more sense for me to start with shooting under then. So
Nice. So, what's your favorite way to hunt turkeys?
oh, it's definitely with a shotgun.
Like,
Tur
what kind what kind of
turkeys, as
shotgun?
much as I'm talking about hunting birds and stuff with a recurve, I feel like turkeys were created on this earth to be shot in the face with a shotgun.
I love it. So, what's your gun setup?
So I shoot a Mossberg 835.
At the
I've been
ultimate?
shooting, yeah, I've been shooting that for quite a few years now. I love Mossberg guns when it comes to turkey hunting. There's a lot of really good ones out there now. Um, I bought this one back early 2000s, and they just from what I've seen with some of the loads on the market, then they pattern the best. But yeah, there's like I said, I know like the Winchesters and some of the other brands out there now. They're very good turkey guns that they got out to now. But um, I'm shooting. I'm not a TSS person when it comes to my 12 gauge. I have it set up for my 410 shooting TSS, but I just shoot like a 3.5 inch. I'm shooting Winchester XRs out of them. Yeah.
That's like old school.
Yeah. So we used to actually, I mean, late 90s, early 2000s. I don't know if you remember the Remington used to make it was a 4x6 shot. So it had fours and sixes in it. And that was, I think they only made them 2 3/4, maybe 3 inch. I know they didn't make 3.5s. they don't make them anymore, but still, my opinion, that was one of the best turkey loads that was ever made. And no one makes like a mix. As far as I know, no one makes a mix shot anymore.
Yeah, I remember those. I hunted with an 835 Ultimag for a lot of years,
Hmm.
and I wanted to I wanted to go to an auto because I had never owned an auto before. So I sold that 835 and bought a Stoger.
Hmm.
And within a couple of weeks into season, I was regretting that I bought that Stoger. And it wasn't function; it didn't fit me well, and regretted selling that 835. So then I went from that Stoger. I went to a Rite 20 gauge, and I have that. I'll hunt with it here for another week, and I'm selling it to my sister's boyfriend. I love
Okay.
it. And that Rite 20 gauge, just the Masamara. It's light, it's fast. It's a great gun. Really enjoyed that. And now my custom over and under 28 gauge is finished and it's in the mail. It'll arrive to me sometime next week. It's a Mossberg Silver Reserve 28 that's been completely redone.
That's cool.
Stock is dipped, barrels Cerakoted and engraved, and the engravings coated. I have two different chokes on it, and both chokes are Cerakoted. And then Vortex sent me their new enclosed turkey sight, and
Hmm.
the gunsmith. It's Aaron. I don't know if you've ever heard of Aaron Satterfield and Sadie's Fatties ammunition. The dude is super talented, and
Yeah.
he mounted that optic right onto the rib of that over and under, and it's
Oh,
just
nice.
he patterned my gun for me. I'm obviously going to shoot it and pattern it myself next week, but he went and tested it and patterned it, and it I have very forgiving patterns from 15 yards all the way out to 40,
Yeah.
depending
That's cool.
depending upon what choke I want to choose for the season.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been wanting to get a 28 gauge actually for turkeys. I have an over under 28 gauge that I used to use for like rabbit, doing some bird hunting, but that would be a fun load to turkey hunt with too.
It's it has great energy. It's putting a ton of pellets on target. It's a lot of fun to shoot. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, for me, it's when I had this thing built, it's like what in my mind, I was asking myself, what would make the ultimate turkey gun? And I've chatted with a lot of guys that their mentality is the only reason why I shoot a 12 gauge with 3.5 inch shells is because they don't make a 4 inch shell. Um, and I'm like, I've punished myself with 3 and 3.5 inch shells, and I kill turkeys the same way with my 20 gauge.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of guys out there that will say, I don't need a fancy turkey choke, and I don't need two barrels. I just put a shotgun in my hands, and I'm going to put turkeys on in the dirt. And I agree with you. Can I do that? I can. But to me, there's some fun involved with it. And so as an Aaron wanted to build a really unique turkey gun. So I was chatting with him, and so we went with this over and under, and it's just with TSS you can reach out with a 20 gauge 410.
Hmm.
My dad's hunting with a 28 now this year, but for the last two seasons he carried a 410, and you can kill birds out to 30 yards. Some guys are killing birds at 40 yards with the 410.
Hmm.
It just gives you a different capability than we had with turkey loads and shotgun shells back in the 90s and prior to that. So it was just a fun thing, and again, it's super unique. It has turkey tracks engraved on the sides of the breech, and I have Be Limitless and Be Faithful engraved on the Be Limitless is up on the upper barrel, and Be Faithful is underneath it on the lower barrel, and it's all powder coated, and it's Badlands approach camo, and it's a one of a kind. So it was a ton of fun, ton of fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. I got my wife actually a 410 a couple years ago. the first time she went out turkey hunting with me, she used my Mossberg, and it was just a little bit too much kick for her. So she's been a little bit nervous about wanting to get out turkey hunting because of that. So then I got that 410 a couple years ago, and I started shooting that thing, and I could not believe that 410 was actually patterning better than my 12 gauge 3.5 inch shells out at 40 yards.
It's impressive.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I couldn't like I think I'm shooting TSS. I want to say 9 shot out of that, something like that. I got a couple different loads, but yeah, I shot a bird with that the first year I got it at like 25 yards, and it just stoned it right in its tracks.
Yeah,
So yeah, they're a fun little gun.
they are. They really are. Right
Yeah,
on. So, talk to me a little bit about Breaking Point TV.
sure.
You're the first guest on the show that's in the well, Derek Craig. I had Derek Craig on the show several months ago, but that was and he's big into filming. But he has a very active YouTube channel, great guy, very talented man. But that episode was focused on it was the first time that he had branched away from hunting field edge private property that he owned and was intimately familiar with. And he went packed in on public and went in for a hunt and
Hmm.
was one of the hardest hunts he's ever done. And that's
Yeah.
we talked about that. We didn't talk about filming or anything. You are the first videographer that I've had on the show. So I'm
Well,
kind of excited about that.
well, I'm honored to be the first. Um, yeah, I've been doing the Breaking Point show. I'm co-owner in the Breaking Point. We've been doing it for 13. This will be our 13th season. And then we produce a turkey hunting show called Breaking Spring. We're going on 12 seasons with that. Um, Myself and my co-owner partner Brennan Nading, we met in college. And that's kind of where our relationship started with hunting and filming together. And while we were in college, we continually talked about wanting to have our own show or doing something in the hunting industry one day. And, we got out of college, and just kind of how life is once you get out of school, you got to find a job and get in the real world. And we started doing that for a little while, and we still kept filming and staying in touch. And eventually we just both got to the point where we said, you know, we've been talking about doing this forever. We need to either do it or it's never going to happen. So we started the show. And like I said, in 13 years, we cut our teeth, in the hunting industry from day one. The first few years is as anything, starting a business is rough, getting funding and building a fan base. But it was at our I'm trying to think, fifth season. It's the first time, fifth or sixth season, somewhere in there. I was able to go full time. So I've been working full time for our business, well, our main business, Black Stamp Media, which we do all of our media work under, for the Breaking Point and for other companies we work for. Yeah, I've been doing that for 6 years now, full time. Brennan has been doing it full time for 5 years. And then we have one other full time employee, Ross, a good friend of ours, Scott, who we do some subcontracting work um, for some editing stuff. And then on top of that, we also run an internship where we have 2 interns every year come in, kind of learn the ropes about filming, producing content, and just working in the hunting industry. So it's been a fun ride. Been very blessed along the way to do it all.
What what animals have you been out? I've watched a couple of your shows and I know at least one company that you filmed for. Um, what what's what's the lineup of all the animals hunts that you've filmed, and what is something that you guys want to go film?
Um, I mean, a good majority of our hunts are Midwest archery based. We do a little bit of rifle hunting and muzzleloader hunting for whitetails. Obviously, like I said before, turkey hunting in spring. We've done a few mule deer hunts in the past. Been out and did some elk hunting out west in Colorado. A couple of the guys on our crew have done some stuff in Colorado also. I'm hoping to actually get out to Wyoming this year to do an archery elk hunt, just depending on if I draw the tag or not. Um, we've done a little bit of antelope hunting, some bear hunting. So kind of majority Midwest based, but we've ventured out a little bit west. As far as like hunts I want to do, I got a whole bucket list. It's just a matter of what I can afford. I got some moose hunts I want to get out and do in the future. Hopefully some caribou hunts. Really want to get down and do like some aoudad hunting, some Texas stuff. Um, yeah, there's quite a long list.
What's your favorite hunt to film?
My favorite is probably we have a camp out in North Dakota we go to every year. It's just been a tradition. We go out there early season and late season. We've gotten to know the landowners very well out there, and we've been lucky enough to build a cabin on one of the properties that we have permission to hunt on. So that's as far as like hunts go, that's one hunt of the year I always look forward to, is just going out there. Um, Very laid back time of the year. It's early season, so we're only hunting afternoon, so we can kind of sleep in the morning and have a little bit of, camp life. Uh, so it's just a very, very fun hunt to be out and be with a good group of guys. And um, so I would say that's definitely up there on the top of the list for me.
Do you find that filming, being behind the camera, is as exciting as being on the gun or the bow?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would say pretty much everyone on our crew, like they are flip-flopping filming and hunting. But like as far as myself, like I love harvesting the animal just as much as I love filming it. It really doesn't matter to me if I pull the trigger on it or not. Just being a part of the success and telling the whole story is worth it. And that's why I got into filming, in the first place. Is um, I just loved bringing a camera out in the woods, and like way back when, just documenting like our family hunts and being able to take it back home and watch it, or take it to school and share it with friends. Like that's honestly the main reason I got into filming and filming our hunts. I could care less as far as like being famous or anything like that. It's just I love sharing our stories with people. That's what drives me.
Do you prefer just filming within your crew, or do you like branching out and filming with other people?
I do like to do a little bit of both. Um, I would say as of late, the majority of our hunts are within the crew. But on occasion we'll go on some trips with some partners we work with, or if like a client reaches out that we have to produce some content for. So we've done stuff like that in the past too, but it just so happens that a good majority of the content we're producing now is for our brand.
Okay,
Yeah.
right on. So what are your goals in the future then?
Oh boy. Um, Let me think about that one for a second. Uh, from the hunting side of things, um, I have a lot of like Western points I've been piling up for years. So like those are some of my big goals, is to eventually start doing those hunts. Um, I got a like Sheriff's Moose tag that eventually is going to be coming up, and oh, I got a boatload of elk points out west, things like that. A dream hunt of mine would be to go out to Hawaii, and do like um, hunt for mouflon and let's see, the
Axis.
axis and some of the other sheep out there. Um, I just think that'd be an unforgettable experience to go do something like that. Um, yeah, I mean, like that's like on the hunting side, that's a lot of them. I'd love to maybe eventually do a grizzly hunt or something like that, but um, Yeah, on more the business side of things, it's just continuing to grow our company. Maybe down the road, I've always had a bunch of ideas as far as like products for the outdoor space. I've just never done anything with them. So maybe one day coming out with some of our own products to sell in the outdoor industry, which would be a whole different realm of business for us. But yeah, just trying to be able to do what I love to do each and every day. That's the main goal.
Excellent. Love it.
Yeah.
So you made a post the other day, and it's I mean, I've been wanting to get some film crew guests on the show just because I'm trying to from a podcast standpoint, I am trying to expand my bandwidth. And
Mhm.
and that's the very first episode of this show was the Limitless podcast was going to be basically anything outdoors. I mean, it's limitless. So that's where I wanted it to go. And
Mhm.
you made a I follow you on Facebook and you made a post and it just struck me as man, it'd be a great conversation. One to talk to you about filming, but you posted a big event here recently that's a decision you made in your life. So do you want to share anything about that?
Yeah. So last last week was Easter. And I made the decision to get baptized, which is something that's been on my heart for quite a while now. I actually grew up in the faith, ever since I was little. Um, but I felt like it wasn't my decision. It was my parents' decision. Um, and as I got older here, um, I went through some life events that steered me away from pursuing God, and just felt like I went on a different path, and then had some more life events that redirected me back towards God. And it's just funny how the Lord works. But a lot of the life changing instances that happened in my life was just with us moving to Iowa, me and my wife. Um, when we bought our house down here, what ended up being a really good friend of ours was our realtor. And the day we closed down the house, he actually asked, well, what church do you guys go to? And at the time, we were practicing another religion, and we were just feeling like we needed more out of our faith. So he opened an invite for us to come to his church, and we actually were interested, but we kind of sat on it for a little while. And then finally one day we just both said we made the commitment to go and try it out, and we just fell in love with the people, fell in love with the messages that we were getting, and that's what really just sparked a whole new fuel for my faith journey. Um, but yeah, anyway, that's kind of where things really started a couple years ago, and I just felt like I needed to make a new dedication in my life to pursuing the Lord, and we just felt like this Easter, it was that time to do that. So actually, me and my wife both got baptized on the same day, so
That's
it's
awesome.
very, very special.
That's awesome. That's a journey, man.
Mhm.
How does it feel now?
It feels wonderful. It feels really great. It's hard to explain, like, you feel just so much different in how you pursue life when you actually commit to being a child of God. Um, Things that would have worked me up or got me upset in the past don't now. I just know I need to trust the Lord that He's going to provide for me, um, each and every day, and that whatever troubles we have along the way, we just have to turn to Him, and we know that He's always going to be there for us.
Has it changed your daily or weekly rhythm and what your habits are or how you structure your day or your time or anything like that?
Um, I would say not as of late. Over the last couple years, I feel like a lot of that has changed. We pray a lot more in the mornings or in the evenings, or throughout the day. Read scripture at some point. Um, just, I guess, a lot more time spent each and every day focusing on the Lord, worshiping Him, um, and praying. But that I feel like has been just a natural progression the closer we've came to came to pursuing God. But it definitely wasn't the case, like I said, 5, 10 years ago. But as of late, yeah, it hasn't changed a whole lot, but it's just, um, yeah, it was just a kind of a one step at a time as we pursued our faith each and every day more, that we keep growing closer.
It is a journey. It is a journey for sure. Do you have a as being an avid outdoorsman, and I ask this because I have several that I rely on. Do you have any devotionals that you lean towards that are outdoor based, or any type of biblical content that you prefer as being a guy that prefers to be outside outdoors, doing some challenging things and being a hunter?
Um, I I really I don't have anything that come to mind. Like I've I love certain, like, so many different books of the Bible, but I don't have like a specific scripture verse that like is like my wife has. I think it's Psalm 34:4 is like her scripture verse. But I love the book of Psalms. I love Samuel. Uh, those are two of my favorite books of the Bible. Um, and then when you get into like the life of King David, like that stuff that's super interesting to me. Um, and a lot of the New Testament, but I don't have a certain one that sticks out off the top of my head. I'm still trying to find that one.
Okay. So there's I can send you the link to it. It's called the Sportsman's Devotional. So it
Okay.
comes in every day. It's some most days it's about hunting, but it can be about big game hunting. It might be about fishing, it might be about hiking, but it's an outdoor based sportsman devotional. And I'm East Coast time, and it usually hits my inbox somewhere around 4 o'clock in the morning. So when you wake up in the morning, it's a pretty short devotional. It's meant to be, I mean, you can read the associated scripture and dive into prayer and look at follow on scripture if you wanted to, and you could turn it into a 20 or 30 minute devotional. But it's meant to be a quick outdoor based, faith based hit on,
Hmm.
start your morning or whatever you want to open your email during the day. Steve Chapman has a couple of really good devotionals. This one it's the Hunter's Devotional. Um, I have a men's group on Tuesdays. We call it the Quiver of Men. It's a group of guys that I shoot archery with and hunt with or socialize with in the outdoor industry. And when the first year that we met on Tuesdays, we went through that Hunter's Devotional. We really enjoyed it. There's a couple of different writers, faith writers out there that are focused on outdoor hunting based devotionals for guys like you and I that want to get
Hmm.
away from a traditional. I mean, I love traditional studies, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's good to open up that book and you know get something from somebody else that shares a similar mindset and what you're
Yeah.
doing outside of faith.
Yeah. Yeah. I um I've heard of the hunting one. You have to send me that. Um, a lot of what we use is like just the Bible app on your phone,
Yeah.
which has usually a daily verse, and then like a devotional with that. We've used that quite a bit. I really enjoy reading faith-based books. Like that gets me really into it. Anything from like Stephen Furtick, I'm a huge fan of. Um, I'm trying to think what I got a list. There's a bunch of them over here. Granger Smith,
Yeah.
the country singer. Um, his book Like a River is a very, very good book. I would
Is it
highly
really?
recommend that to it's basically about his whole journey, um, with the loss of his son and, just eventually pursuing the Lord. And now he quit country music and he's a pastor now. So it goes along that whole journey. Um, It's an extremely good book. I would recommend that one to anyone.
That's amazing. So how do you foresee this impacting, let's say, I mean, we're in turkey season, but this coming deer season, it sounds like filming deer hunts is your forte.
Yeah.
How do you see this new um, fire in your faith impacting your hunting season?
So it's funny you asked that. So something I started doing a couple years ago, and I need to get better at doing it through the whole season. Um, but I started putting like a scripture verse on in tape every time I hunted. That was my goal. And then as season gets long, sometimes you fall behind. But I wanted to put a scripture verse every time I went hunting on like my bow or my gun, something like that, that I can always like as I'm in the tree, I can meditate on. Um, I was pretty good at it at first, like I said, but I've fallen behind. So hopefully this new spark in my faith will push me more to continue with that.
Is is the rest of your crew do they follow faith or are you a
I
one-off?
I would say a good majority do, yeah. Yeah.
Do you guys ever do Bible studies together?
No, we have not, but that would be something definitely worth to consider in the future.
Something fun to do in hunting camp.
Yeah. I
I've
know our intern Charlie Corcoran went and filmed a hunt. You know Aaron Shear?
Yeah.
Yeah, he filmed a hunt that we produced for them a couple years ago out in I think it was Colorado. And I got to do the editing for that. And that was out of all my projects I've ever worked on, that was like my favorite thing I've ever done is producing that. Just seeing like what those guys did in camp every day. Uh, it felt like you were there, you know. It was so cool.
Aaron's a Aaron is a solid man. In fact, he I had a recent school project that I had to complete. So I reached out to him and sent him material and we did a Zoom interview and I turned in a project that he was involved with. And once he's in his busy season right now with center
Hmm.
shot. And once center shot slows down, I'm going to host him on the show.
Yeah.
But that's
It
something
was, oh, go ahead.
something that I've started doing with my nonprofit. And then when I go hunting is try to do and with them, whether I'm with my dad or my family or with other Christian men, I try to put together, have somebody put together a Bible study so that, when we're face to face in a group, we can have that time together. And it doesn't have to be long, you could do a 30-minute, 45-minute Bible study, fellowship session,
Hmm.
and it just brings everybody closer together. It
Yeah.
puts a whole new aspect on your hunt rather than and everybody hunts their hunt the way that they want to. And some guys go to deer camp or hunting camp because they just want to get away and be with the guys and have some beers and be guys. And
Hmm.
I used to be that way. I backcountry hunt mostly, but when I'm backcountry hunting with other guys, it was always just being it was all about the hunt. And
Hmm.
now I really like to have some type of a little fellowship session because when you can be together and lock arms together in person, there's so much growth and potential there. It's wonderful.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, so me and my wife, we actually go to a Wednesday service, but it's more of like a Bible study feel to it. Um, and like just like you were saying, when you get so close to them guys when you do that, like our people from church, that we usually go to church with on Wednesday, like those are like our closest people we're with in life. It's just it's just an unbelievable feeling like when you sit and you go through scripture with them, like your relationship just opens up so much more to them. Yeah, it's like I said, those are your closest people.
It's pretty amazing. Do you
Yeah.
do you exercise a lot or at all?
I I do. I not as much as I should. I have a have a heart condition, so I kind of have to be mindful of how intense I do some stuff.
Okay.
Um, I had a I had a pacemaker surgery last November. Um, so was recovering from that for a couple months. So I'm back to like normal activity now. Um, but if I draw this elk tag in Wyoming, I'm definitely gonna be ramping up my exercise. So I was I'm usually, I mean, I'm pretty active. I do a lot of hiking, do a lot of walking with my wife. Um, but if I'm going to be doing this hunt this fall, I'll definitely be taking a little bit more serious.
So there's a national men's group. It's called Men's Alliance. It was founded by a couple of veterans, and they bring groups of men together in their local communities, and it's an hour long. You pick the night. So once you put this group together, it's called a tribe. Once you put your tribe together, you pick the night that you're going to do this, and you start a fire. Then you do a 30-minute workout, and then you sit down together at the fire and you do a 30-minute Bible study. And then
That's cool.
check it out. I live on the eastern shore of Maryland, and a gentleman that attends the church that I attend and serve at. He I never met him at church because my wife and I go to the morning service. He goes to the mid-afternoon service, or I should say mid-morning service. I met him through a lunch engagement through a mutual friend, and he was presenting the idea of starting a men's alliance tribe here in our area. And so we're going to do that. And
Yeah.
it's a great way to bring men together, and you get a workout in, and it's a prescribed workout, but you tailor it to whatever works for you. That's one of the guidelines in the playbook of the Men's Alliance. Is the number one rule is don't die. So if you come to the workout and there's something keeping you from performing at whatever the prescribed workout is, then you tailor it to
Hmm.
to fit you and your abilities. So you work out for 30 minutes, and then you sit down and do a Bible study. It's led, and it looks like a really, really great organization. And it's huge. There's uh there's over, I think it's over 250 tribes now nationwide. And
Wow. That
they do big regional and national events. And you can look all this, it's all mensalliance.com. I think
okay.
it's .com. Their regional and national events, some of them include doing things like taking men out overnight. They'll go to state parks, and you'll either be in tents or in almost like summer camp style lodging.
Hmm.
They'll take small groups out into the wilderness, and you'll spend a night out in the wilderness. And for some men, they've never done that. And
Hmm.
it's supposed to be pretty powerful to be a part of. So I'm exploring that and looking into that. So if you're looking for something to do with other guys and a workout opportunity with a Bible study attached to it, check out Men's Alliance.
Yeah, I will. That's really cool. That's very interesting.
Yeah. Well, what else do you want to talk about? We've been at it for about 45 minutes. Anything else that you want to
Oh.
share?
Hmm. So this last winter, I just well, it just so happened kind of the timing with my surgery. Um, my wife asked me about getting a dog, so we ended up getting a Weimaraner pup this last November. He's 6 months old now, but I've been training him for sheds, finding sheds, um, and so that's been a fun journey. The last few months, we've been doing obedience training with him. Got him in classes for that. The more and more we've been doing that, I'm actually thinking about getting him certified for service dog. Uh, because then I would love to just have the ability to take him wherever I wanted to go. With having that, so that's been fun. And then my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, they are very, very big into like the bird hunting side of things. with running trials, and they have three Vizslas, so they've been continually poking me about training him for birds. So I've been doing a little bit of wing training with him on that. And I probably will end up cross training him a little bit to do some bird hunting as well. But it's been a fun last few months doing that. Some sleepless nights, but he's getting a lot better with that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
both of those breeds are very active dogs.
yeah, yeah, he is. He's calmed down, I feel like, a lot now in the last few weeks, but like when we first got him, oh, luckily it was during shed season, so I'd start taking him along with. But like if I didn't get him out for 2 to 4 miles a day, like you paid for it at night. He was just bouncing over the walls and wouldn't sleep. But yeah, he's been a joy to have.
That's it's funny that you bring that up. Right here behind me, snoring on his bed, is our 7-year-old chocolate lab.
Yeah. Yeah, he's very chilled in the mornings. Like I can usually get a lot of work done in the mornings, but my afternoons, kind of post nap lunchtime, he's wanting to get out and do some exercise. And so after I get off this with you, I'll probably end up having to get him out for a little bit of a walk before I do some turkey hunting this afternoon.
Right on. Sorry, this afternoon then are you going back out with your recurve or are you filming?
Yeah, I'm dedicated on trying to get one with the recurve. That's uh I'm hoping we can get it done soon, but we'll see.
And out of a blind again, what species are you guys pursuing?
Eastern.
Easterns? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of what we're hunting around here in the Midwest is Easterns. I've gone out to Nebraska and South Dakota and hunted Miriams out there. We don't really travel as much as what we used to though for turkeys. Most of it's Iowa, and we go back home every year to Wisconsin and hunt up around there. Um, that's just kind of our tradition is to go up there every year.
Right on.
Yeah.
What's one last question and then we'll bring this to an end. When you're hunting with decoys, how many decoys do you typically deploy and what brand do you prefer to use?
Um, so I just use two decoys. Most most of our setups right now we're using Avian X's, lay down hen, and then they make I think it's called the LCD. It's a half strut Jake. That's what we've had the best success with. We used to run for several years a decoy. It was called Spin and Strut.
Mhm.
Not I don't feel like a lot of people have heard of them. Flambeau actually bought them out, but then they quit making them. But it was a decoy that went in the stake in the ground, and it had a pivot on that stake, and you could hook a string up to it with a fishing rod or reel. And you when you're sitting by the tree, you could just pull that, and it would actually pull the decoy in and out of strut. And we got those decoys back in like 2007, 8, right when we first started filming. And we killed, it was insane the amount of birds that we killed off of those decoys. Like the second they saw that movement, it just drove them absolutely nuts and they'd come in. Like birds that we would normally get hung up at 70 to 80 yards, you give them one pull and they would just turn on a dime and you just knew they were coming right away. But it seemed like over the years, um, the birds eventually started wising up to that. Because when we first started using those, birds would come in and just beat the snot out of the decoys. And just over time, I think, turkeys, they evolve too, and they kind of catch on to certain things. So um, we noticed a few years ago, like we might have to try and do something different. So we went with a different decoy approach, and it's been working out really good for us. Now the avians, I do have some DSD decoys also that are very good too.
All right. Yeah, I if I'm going to throw decoys down, I'm typically doing three.
Okay. Are you doing a Jake and two hens?
I am.
Yeah. We'll do like I'll use stand-ups every once in a while. Not as much as what I used to, but like if we get in a situation where, especially later in the spring, a lot of your like alfalfa fields and that start getting a little bit longer grass, then I'll probably do some more stand-ups than a lay down, just so you can get it up off the ground a little higher.
Yeah, I hit a point where out here in Eastern Maryland, they Southern Maryland,
Hmm.
birds, they're so educated that if you put one decoy out, it got to a point to where they wouldn't come in. They would see that lone
Yeah.
decoy, just turn and go the other way. So
Hmm.
I started hunting. My deal was three decoys or no decoys. And
Hmm.
I've had better action with birds coming in than trying to just go with one. And I
Yeah.
use a collapsible decoy. I own an avian. I have two avians, but I don't use them. I got tired of packing them around. So I use a Montana decoy. They have their collapsible decoys. They're so nice, super light.
Hmm.
And they just collapse down on themselves, and they're a 3D. The material, the way they trim, they look like they're real feathers.
Yeah.
I've had incredible luck with those decoys.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen some of their decoys. I've never given them a shot. I actually have one of their the whitetail decoys of theirs. Um, there's something I was going to mention too. Oh, like one of the main reasons we use decoys is obviously for filming purposes, though, trying to get the birds in close to the spread. Um, well, back before I really got serious into filming, I would probably use a decoy off of my roost hunt, and then I just run and gun the rest of the day, like just one call and my gun. That's didn't even take a vest. I love that was all that was my favorite way of, and still is my favorite way of hunting turkeys, is that run and gun method. Just going, you can kill so many birds if you get in like open timber, that they have to just come look for where the bird is. Uh, yeah, that's my favorite way of hunting, but it's just from a filming aspect. Once we got more into serious about that, it's just not as realistic to get good quality footage. So we kind of had to adapt and do something different, and that's why we use a lot more decoys now. We set up a lot more on field edges and stuff like that too, just because of that.
Yeah, you talk about running and gunning and not wearing a vest. I don't wear a vest anymore. I hunt out of a backpack.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah, I
just
mean, you really don't need, like, I didn't even take a seat cushion a lot of the times when I went. I just sat on the ground, and if I didn't hear a gobble in 10, 15 minutes, get up, walk another 200, 300 yards and set up again, you know?
that's the Easterns out here, they're very vocal in the roost. And when they hit the ground, 9 times out of 10, they just stop talking. And
Hmm.
that's tough because I spring turkey hunt because I want to engage with the turkey. And if
Yeah.
they're not talking, and we can only hunt till noon for the first half, 2/3 of the season. So your two options are to walk around in the woods all morning, throwing out calls to birds that don't want to talk. Plus they're
Hmm.
pressured pretty hard. Or you
Yeah.
sit down in one spot and you call from 6:30 in the morning, 6:30 in the morning until noon, and you sit in
Hmm.
that one spot. And a lot of times birds are going to come in, but they come in quiet. And it's tough because you can kill birds that way, but it's not really how I want to kill birds. I want to go
Yeah.
I want to go hook them with my calling and bring them in, you know. So it's a little
Hmm.
bit of struggle.
Yeah. I used to go down to the Ozarks, back when I was in like junior high. Uh, Me and my cousin and my uncle, we'd go down there every year. I think we did it for like probably 6, 7 years. Same deal. Birds there in southern Missouri are super heavy pressured, hunted for several weeks, and them birds, same as like you said, they'll gobble off the roost, and the second they hit the ground, they hardly make a sound. You might get lucky, and once every 3 years you get one struck up midday and call it in and kill it, but it didn't happen too often.
Yeah. No, it's the same way with archery elk in September. It's just not the same if you're out calling to elk that don't want to talk and sit in one spot. You know, a lot of guys will say just call and then wait for an hour and a half, 2 hours. A bull's going to come in and check you out. That's not why I go do it.
Hmm.
I want to go
Yeah.
engage the animal. It's like for me, it's fishing. You know, my dad describes it as his favorite experience in the outdoors is when he sets the hook on a salmon or a steelhead in a small tributary. He's connected to that fish, and I feel the same way when I'm hunting spring turkeys or pursuing September archery elk. When you send that vocalization out and they respond to you, and excuse me, especially if that communication continues till they come in, it's just a whole new experience.
Hmm. Yeah. So funny you mentioned that because I went on the elk hunt back in 2020 in Colorado. We were very lucky and killed a bull on the second day. We worked very hard the rest of the trip to get on elk, but with the bird or the not birds, the elk just weren't very vocal. We could occasionally get some to go. We probably heard just as many other hunters as we did elk
Mhm.
bugling. And with this Wyoming tag I put in for, I'm actually looking at going through a private ranch, an outfit. And that was the main reason. I just wanted to have that experience of being in the presence of the elk and them doing the things that they're normally doing during the rut. I just wanted to feel that once. And after that I might be fine with going back and just hunting public for a while, but I just I don't know how many elk hunts I'll have in my life. So I want to be able to really have just one of those I'll never forget, and that's what I'm hoping for this trip.
Right on. Well, I uh I hope it's a great trip for you.
Yeah, I hope I draw. I should, but we'll
Right.
see.
All right. Well, why don't you tell folks where they can see your stuff?
Yeah. If you want to check out our content, you can just go on YouTube, look up the Breaking Point TV. We also have an Instagram account, B Point TV, and you can find us on Facebook as well, and we have our own website. We put out usually 13 to 20 shows of the Breaking Point, like highly produced shows every fall. And then we do a weekly series on our YouTube channel, year round, just kind of what we're doing. And then, like I mentioned before, we have our Breaking Spring turkey hunting series. We do a live broadcast hunting also, and then we're doing some strategy content on our YouTube channel this year. So there's a lot of stuff going on our channel year round. So that's probably the best way to follow us and check out our content.
Right on. Well, thanks for spending some time with me today. I really appreciate it. And I'll chat with you for a couple of minutes once we shut this down.
Thanks
But
for having me, Aaron.
yeah, you bet. So for Limitless listeners, please hit that subscribe button, share the show. Really appreciate you guys listening in. Use those sponsor codes. And as I always close, be limitless.